Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Bejaia in Algeria. But first of all, thank you all so much for the well wishes as I was getting over COVID. It was a rough one, as you might have been able to tell in the last video I posted. This is going up, 2 days late, but I was really unwell, so I'm much better now, and thank you all so much for your kind well wishes. They were really sweet and really helped me pull through, so thank you all so much. Let's talk about Algeria. One of my favorite corners in Africa is the coast of Algeria. That's where we are today. You can see the Mediterranean coastline here. This says Gulf de Bejaia, but all the sources I have read have called it Cape Carbon, which is prettier, I think, instead of just the Bejaia Gulf. There are some beautiful mountains up here. You can pretend that my pencil smudge there, that won't erase, is some of these big, beautiful mountains that look like mohawks. They're just spiky like that and have beautiful forests on top. And some of them are home to some sweet little monkeys. If you remember, ages ago, I did a video where we just went to random places on Google Earth, just hit the random button, and one of them was Pic des Singes, which is French for Monkey Peak, which is here in this area, probably like right about here. And this mountainy area over here is part of Mount Guraya National Park, and it's so pretty. I can't wait to show you on Google Earth later. The African coast is just a special place. The Mediterranean African coast is gorgeous. Those mountains are part of the Tel Atlas range that dominates northern Africa. This branch of the Tel Atlas is called the Babur range. And the rest of Bejaia is pretty rocky as well. There's some big mountainy peaks down here in the south. It gets a little drier, but it is all part of the Sumam Valley, the Wadi Sumam, flowing up almost in the middle of the province out to the sea there. We're in a historical region known as Kabylia, which the Kabylia people are Berber, which is a really interesting, very old tribe in northern Africa. They have their own traditions, their own languages, their own ways that are very different from many other cultures here in northern Africa. We'll talk a little about them in history. I think we should just seg into history right there, to be honest. I think that's the perfect time to start. Although before the Berber people, there were many examples of early man living in the caves in the mountains down here. I'll show you an archaeological site on Google Earth that I found. But pretty much the only main ethnic group up here before people from other parts of the world got involved were the Berber peoples. And between the years 202 BCE and 46 BCE, they had their own kingdom up here in this corner called Numidia. And they were friendly with the Carthaginians. They traded back and forth, the Carthaginians being a Phoenician people from the east of the Mediterranean who traded their way along the coast here, establishing colonies and settlements. But, who wasn't friendly with the Carthaginians were the Romans up there. They warred and eventually would war with the Numidians, and after defeating their king Jugurtha, the Romans took control of the area here. They established the city that's now Béjaia. They called it Salde, and ruled this area, I believe, not as strongly as other parts of the African coast. Mainly they wanted that ocean port area, not so much the area around here. In the year 435 CE, the Vandals invaded from Europe and conquered this area. They conquered a lot of places in the Western Roman Empire. They made Bejaia their capital of this area here. But the Byzantines would come in full force in the year 534 and reconquer this area for the Eastern Roman Empire. And the Berber peoples here apparently weren't too appreciative of that. They saw the Byzantines as being extremely oppressive, probably because they pushed Christianity. Well, Christianity, I think, came to this area before then, but that was their official religion. And it was obviously not theirs. And it was when the Arabs arrived in probably like 200, 300 years later that they were welcomed as liberators. But Islam really didn't sink into the area here until about the early 900s. From what I can tell in my sources, at least. I know I have a lot of Algerian viewers. Be sure to correct me if I got anything completely wrong. I did do all this research while having COVID, so I'm doing my best. It's one of those topics that I found so many rabbit holes and read so many things about Kabylia and the Beni Abbas and the Macronis, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge rabbit hole. It was a lot. I'm giving you a very brief summary. So early 900s, Islam is firmly in place here, and the area was ruled by many different Islamic dynasties like the Fatimids and the Zirids. Among like the Abbasids, there are quite a few, but the most important one to mention ruled between the years 1014 and 1152, and that was the Hamidid Empire. Also, I read a source that just called it the Kingdom of Bejaia, which is a really cool name. The Hamidids left their mark on this area forever. They made Bejaia a very thriving port city for a lot of reasons. It was a gateway for travel. It was an entry port to go south to the desert. It was a way to sail to Mecca for pilgrims. It was a way to sail up to Europe and the Italian peninsula. It was just a jumping off point for many places around the Mediterranean and southern Africa. Reminds me of this is random. This just popped in my head. The Minneapolis airport. You can get connections to everywhere in the United States from Minneapolis for some reason. I've been in that airport far too many times getting connected flights. It's like that. It's the one place you can go and you can just go anywhere. Right? So it's a perfect spot for that. It was also a big trading center, and their biggest claim to fame in terms of trading products was wax, in particular wax candles. And you can see here the French name for Bejaia is bougie. And these candles would be shipped out to France, and they would call them bougie. That's obviously not the origin of the word bougie. That comes from the bourgeoisie, right? But I don't know, maybe the word bourgeoisie comes from this. I'm not sure. I also read a source that says that wax candles were invented here, and I didn't see anything else that said that, because that's kind of hard to believe. It's one of those things like when I was researching Aleppo, reading about the place that invented soap. Wax candles are such a thing that feels like have existed for forever. I feel like there's no way that we can pinpoint when or even where that was invented, but if true, amazing. It'd be like pointing out where is the pencil invented, I'm sure there's a place that claims it somewhere, probably in Mesopotamia. This was also a center for education. There were many different schools set up here. I think mostly Islamic schools, but you can study pretty much anything here in Bejaia, and people would come from all over the world. And I say that because it was just Europe and Africa and the Middle East to study. And in fact, Fibonacci is believed to have come up with the Fibonacci sequence here in Bejaia, which is I'll throw it up on the screen here, a very well-known shape in like geometry and other like philosophies, I suppose, sciences. This age ended pretty swiftly with the invasion of the Almohads, who I think were against the concept of having this area be so multicultural, because so many people came to and from that there were many different cultures and many languages and many religions in this town, that they conquered it. And never really reached that time of glory ever again. In 1510, Spain invaded, and from what I can tell, because they could, because they were still riled up from winning the Reconquista, from kicking all of the Muslims out of the Iberian Peninsula, that they just kept going south to the African coast. They still have territories on the African coast in Morocco, but they took over Bejaia and held on to it for like 50 years or so, until 1555. And of course the people here weren't pleased about that at all, because they were trying to subjugate all of the Muslims and Jews living here. And this area became very famous for the Barbary pirates at this time, fighting back against the Spanish and stealing their loot and sinking their ships, and all of those things that pirates are known for at this time. But Spanish reign came to a swift end when the Ottomans came and battled for Bejaia and conquered it and made it part of the Ottoman Empire. But it wasn't very directly ruled by the Ottomans, It's very far away from Istanbul. So pretty much this area was ruled by the Kingdom of Beni Abbas, which was yet another Muslim kingdom ruled by the Makrani dynasty. And they would have firm control over this area of Kabylia until the French invaded in the 1830s. The French came and conquered Algiers, which I've already done a video on. I'll link my Algiers video up there for you to check out afterward. And France was determined to not just take Algiers, but as much of Algeria as they could. And they came into Bejaia in 1833 and did not fully subjugate the people until 1846, which tells you how much of a resistance these people put up, and definitely put up a resistance well until the end of French occupation, with a little hiccup in World War II. The Allies came and conquered most of the North African coast to keep it away from the French, who had just been invaded by Nazi Germany. The Germans attacked Bejaia in 1942. I didn't write down the date of the battle, but I think it was just one 24-hour attack on the port there, with the Allied victory at the end of the day. This town really started to become important in modern days in 1959, when an oil pipeline was connected here, and it ends here, so it can be exported. That oil can be exported out from Bejaia, and the town's economy has bloomed since then into the beautiful, bustling city that it is today. I told you I'd mention the Berber peoples, who since independence have been very vocal about their rights and keeping their traditions and language. They've held many protests in Bejaia. There was a very big one in 1980, I believe, or the early 1980s, called the Berber Spring. There was one in 2001 that was extremely violent in terms of the Berbers being attacked by the police and the military. They call it the Black Spring. And they also participated in the 2011 Arab Spring. They call it the Arab Berber Spring in Algeria here. So still very vocal, still very prominent in the community here. And that is a very brief nutshell of the history of Bejaia province. I'm going to take you over to Google Earth now. There aren't a lot of pictures to show you, but the pictures that are there are stunning. So let's head over to the tablet and check those out. Here we are in Béjaia province. And let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. I know I was very zoomed in the last map. So here is, you can see all the green here. That's that beautiful coastline I was talking about that someday I'm going to get to visit. So here is northern Africa. You can see just below that is the Sahara Desert. And then straight up here, you can see Spain, France, and Italy kind of arcing around it there. That is where we are in the world. So let's start up here in Bejaia. See the beautiful cape here, and I think the slideshow just for the city, of course it disappears right then, is so pretty. Look at this, that beautiful ocean coastline and the beaches and the mountains in the background and the lovely little city here. What a fantastic picture. This looks like a paradise to me. This has everything. How gorgeous is that? So, so lovely. And all the buildings are so neat and tidy. Having that little mark from the French there. You can see the port area here. Big ship docked there. Lots of big apartment buildings up in the hills. And beautiful little plazas here. The water there flowing out to sea. Big hills, beautiful buildings, all those beautiful arched windows. Oh, that rugged rocky coastline with the water crashing against it. Oh, this place seems so pretty. I'll have to add this to my future North African coast itinerary because it's just too lovely. But up here you can see the mountains, and if I put it like this, you can really see just how jagged these peaks are. It's so pointy up here at the tippy top. I said like a mohawk, right? It's so sharp there. It's like you could cut my finger on it. So let me find the little slideshows I found here. Of course, they're not appearing. There we go. Those weren't the right ones. Maybe they're over here. Hello. Look at how sharp that is. That I think is Pic des Singes. Yep, Pic des Singes. Monkey Peak. And it's thusly named because it is home to Barbary macaques, which are apparently endangered little guys. And they just run wild up here, which is pretty cool. So you can come and hang out with the monkeys up here on the mountain. And like I said, we've been here before on my channel. I'm pretty sure these pictures are different because I don't remember any of these. I don't remember the little baby there looking out at the horizon there. I think I remember one like this. That is so pretty how pronounced that rock is. And the windy steps leading up to the top, that must be exhausting. But let's see, there's one other really nice slideshow that was over here. That of course is not appearing. There we go. That's not it either. Oh, I think it was this one for Bejaia National Park. To give you more of a scope of this mountainous area. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm sorry I'm saying that a lot, but isn't it? Oh, look at that blue. That is so pretty. And the sunset up high. The little monkeys running rampant. Look at this coastline. Just so untouched. Oh my gosh, this monkey's having a very serious conversation. Look, he's like, listen, this is your baby. The results are in. You are the father. He's having a very serious talk with that baby. Anyway, that is Bejaia. And you can see, I'm pretty sure this must be for the oil, right? This big tanker yard here. You can see the big port area here. That must be. Oh, the Kasbah's over here. There it is. Kasbah just means like a walled city or a fortress. And pretty much every city along the coast here has a Kasbah of some kind. And this one's really pretty. It looks very medieval. Looks like that was made with toy blocks. So I'm wondering if this is from the Spanish time, because look at the cannons there. Trying to fend off pirates, maybe. See those pointy little edges there along the walls. See, look, it's like an old medieval castle. It's really beautiful. Oh, you can see the dockyard over there all lit up at night. It's a really pretty Kasbah. The courtyard here. That's pretty neat. So what else can we find in this province? You can see just how forested it is this way, and even more this way. The pictures aren't great, but you get the idea, right? There's really pretty pictures in the next province over, but we're not quite there yet. And you can see just how rocky and jagged it is down here. You can see the valley very clearly from the Wadi Sumam. All of the rocks around it. And there's this one really cool mountain down here. I think that's it. Maybe it's down here somewhere. Let me throw up the borders again real quick. Make sure I'm not getting lost. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Because I thought this was a big hole in the ground. And I was like, what is this huge canyon? And then I realized it's the shadow of this mountain, which is also like a big pointy mohawk mountain. Look at that. So precise. And it comes down into the town here. Oh, I didn't realize there was a slideshow on top here. Let's look. It's a piton. A peak. Look at that sticking up there. Reminds me of what is it, Zuma Rock in Abuja. Just a big old rocky guy sticking up in the middle of town. That's nice. But over here I found a slideshow of the cave system that had evidence of early man in it. Let's take a look. I'll gate it off to keep people out so you don't go poking around archaeological sites. But isn't that a beautiful cave there? That is so pretty, and caves really creep me out. I don't like the thought of being underground for too long, to be honest, especially in a dark, spooky cave. But that's a really pretty cave. Look at all of this very soft erosion down there from water dripping for thousands and thousands of years. And these little tiny caves here where maybe your ancestor once lived. Maybe my ancestor once lived in these caves. There's no way for us to really truly know, but this is how our very, very earliest ancestors lived their normal everyday lives. It's here in caves like this. Pretty fascinating. The only thing I read about the archaeological finds here was that there are archaeological finds here. I guess I read bits here and there, but I didn't dive too deep into it because I was really sick this week. I probably should have researched more. But I have one more place to show you, and that of course has to be a beach. I think I found a good beach for you guys right here. This is a nice beach. There we go. Beautiful waves crashing. We've got the food there. Get your inflatables and play out in the water. That's where I would be, right out there, splashing among there. I love swimming. I love being in water. Even just like standing where I live, there's a big, beautiful lake. Just standing in the lake, that's enough for me. There's the babies all covered in sand. Good luck washing that off. That's a nightmare. Beautiful Algerian flag there. Oh, what a cute baby. Oh my gosh, playing in the sand with all our little toys. Do you remember doing that when you were a kid? And how, like, how sandy they are, yikes. How, like, simple it is to play in the sand, but it was so much fun as a kid. Look at all these peaks as well. So green. It's like God just painted it with a paintbrush. It's so thickly forested. I love to see it. But I think that's all that I have for you today. I found a bunch of other really neat slideshows. There are a couple museums that were all right, a couple of old historic houses, other beaches, other little points up here in the forest here. Actually, let me find you one more to close out the video. Out here in the forest, I found some really beautiful waterfalls, but who knows if I'll actually find them again. Oh no. Let's see what this is. It's chickens. It's chickens. Oh no, I'm not gonna find it. Come on. Let's get the borders up one more time. Maybe that'll help me find it. There's all kinds of beautiful waterfalls there. It was like over here in these ragged peaks. Aha. Thank you. I believe it was this one. Oh yeah. Look at that. Pew. So let's end the video here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it after my tiny little leave of absence after being so sick. A little monkey. Cute. And a peacock. How beautiful. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing, as this is an ongoing series on my channel. And next we're going to Hungary. And I'll be honest, I have not finished researching it yet because I've been very sick and my mind has been in Algeria this whole time. But I have poked around on Google Earth and found some cool slideshows to show you in southern Hungary. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. If you learned something new, give this video a thumbs up. Look at this beautiful hawk. Oh my goodness. Maybe a falcon. And let me know what cool facts you learned down in the comments below. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good night. Look at all the peacocks. Oh my gosh. Good night.